I think that guy to this day was cut me down another year to go for 3 years instead of 4. But if you're 18, another year don't mean a lot. Went in there and got to LA and met a guy named Dean Timmy. We became lifelong friends. He's a farm boy from Malden, Illinois. And we went down, saw the Pacific Ocean. I never saw anything. He says, Cotton Run and Miami River, 7 Mile Creek, that was my big. He's up there in the Pacific. Little did I know I'd be on it a year and a half. So we get down to San Diego and boot camp, and the first thing they do is grab you and kiss mommy and daddy goodbye and give your soul to God. Your ass belongs to the Marine Corps. I thought he's full of, well, he's right. I'm 91 and it still does. You bond with him. So he Reveille went at 05, 100. Well, he would wake up at 400. I'd wake up. I still get up at 4 o'clock now at 91. I know you're shaking your head. But I still do that. I go to bed early. In fact, I'm about ready to take a nap. So what you do is you get in the head and shave, brush your teeth, and you don't miss formation, and you stay squared away. Well, you don't have any problem in there. You stay out of trouble. And we did that. Because there's 2 platoons hit there, so there's 60 guys hit that at 0500 when Reveille goes off. We're already in there making up a bump. Where you bounce a quarter on it. We're already doing that, so we don't miss formation. Get out of boot camp, go up to Camp Pendleton. We're all going to Korea to kill all the communists. Get up there, go through hand to hand, and go to combat training. And our whole battalion went to Korea. Dean Timmy and me went to C school back down to San Diego, MCRD. But what's funny about that, we were disappointed. You believe that? We were disappointed we didn't get to go to Korea. But, so we went down to C school. That's where you learn the nomenclature and how to store your gear in a small area aboard the ship. Got out of C school, and 53 didn't go aboard ship. They kept us there. They took the top 3 out of every platoon. They kept us there to make training film and movies. We were called the movie platoon. Boy, was it good duty. And we had a drill team, and a few good men. You see that? That drill team? We did that on the West 53. White glove, everything was film. Queen Anne salute, kneel down, throw the rifle. We did all that stuff. We were the darlings of the base. Hey, son.
Hi, Daddy.
My little lad is sitting back getting some books to wait for one of them. This is my son, Bill.
Hello, everybody.
I got some books if you want them. They're free. My daughter sells them for $10. I'll give them away. Well, I paid for them. So we get out of C school. They kept us there making movies. And Sergeant Friedman trained us in that. And boy, was he tough. He called me one day and he said, Halderman, go to top sergeant's office. You don't get called up there unless you get in trouble. So I went up there and closed the door and sit down. What's going on? He said, what I say here stays in this room. Your name and other Marines we're going to interview are interested if you'd be interested in going on a top secret mission for the United States government. I went, well, fast cars, beautiful women, champagne. That top secret's right down my alley. I said, yes, Tom, I'm interested in that. And he said, well, there'll be a couple FBI men come around within the next 2 or 3 weeks to interview you and other Marines. I don't want you to say a name to anybody. Not even Timmy. Okay, Tom, I won't tell him anything. So you go out there and he said, what do you want? I can't tell you. Come on, you can. I can't tell you. So the FBI comes in, they go up to interview them. The first thing they do, they want to know if you're a communist. Because I know, are you all old enough to remember Joe McCarthy, the Mr. Communist himself? Every communist was in the government. He had a big stake in the news. And Ethel Julius Rosenberg sold atomic secrets to Russia, and they caught him in 50, put him on trial in 51, killed him in 52, left the keeper. This was 53. In about June, the Korean War was over, and I said, no communist tendencies. You belong to any communist? No. You belong to any organization at all? I said, well, yeah. what is it? I said, the YMCA. I didn't tell him that. And they said, well, read this and sign it. So I said, once you sign it, you don't have any rights. I said, well, I'm in the Marines and I don't have any rights anyway. Being a smart ex-marketer. So I could have read it with a 1,000-power microscope. But I act like I didn't want to appear too stupid. Although I was naive. So I signed it, and it carried the death penalty. They weren't allowed to talk about it ever. So the movie platoon, the movies were over, and I won't mention names. I know you won't remember, but I'll never forget them. K.D. Wolf and Maurice Zell and me all made corporal. So we're senior corporals going aboard that ship, the Curtis. So they isolated us, we were in a restricted area, and we all carried a 45 with one in the chamber and the safety on, in order to shoot to kill. We ain't even aboard ship yet. So I went aboard ship on December the 18th of 1953. And boy, did they turn out the lights on us guys. They hated us because we were two of the unknown soldiers, sharp, spit, shine, brass. We were really square. They were too, but not like us. Because we were moving platoon and smart aleck and cocky, but they didn't like that. So the sergeant I reported to, he hated my guts, and I just hated. I didn't care. If I knew that, I wasn't going to stay in the Marines, but I was all ready to go to OCS. So we set sail about January 7th or 8th of 54, and we went to Hunter's Point in San Francisco. We picked up the hydrogen bomb, but they just called it the device. All these, when you're on board with physicists and scientists and generals and admirals, they're in another world, and they run it, and you just do what they tell you. So we went up there and picked up what was to be the Bravo shot. But we all had arms. We had the Secret Service, the FBI, Shore Patrol, Marines, shoot to kill. That doesn't mean you're going to go out and blow everybody's brains out. But everybody knew their place. We didn't push that. So we set sailed under the Golden Gate Bridge about 2 or 3 in the morning. I found out after they declassified it that the FBI shut the bridge down and let us sail through it. When you look down, if you were a spy, would you look down and see that ship go under and know something's not right? But they did that. So we're out maybe about a week, and we got called to general quarters. About 0300, that can't be at noon, it's gotta be 0300 in the morning. So my duty station was the Quad 40 mount up on the bow. Quad 40 is one of these 4 of them on a sled. That was, and you tie into the ship's intercom system. Destroyers and cruisers are coming around. We got a big task force to follow our ship. We didn't know what it was. So you tie into the ship's intercom system, and you just sit there. And finally, when they secured that, Red Dog McKenzie was Admiral's orderly. He's a moving platoon guy. He was Admiral's orderly. Gene Pratt was Captain's orderly. And Dick Superwich was Executive Officer orderly. These are all moving platoon drill team guys, which are prestigious jobs. And the other guys, older guys on there, didn't like it, jealous of them, didn't like it. So I saw Red Dog the next morning. I said, "What happened last night?" He said, "Russian sub came up underneath our ship." And here I am. How do they know where we were? He said, "You kidding me? They lay out those sea lanes. They can tell by your engine what kind of ship it is. They blow their ballast, and they just float up underneath your vessel." But we had destroyers coming around with depth charges, and it was kind of scary. We're not even over there yet. In fact, we didn't even know where we were going. But evidently they did. In fact, the Russian and Chinese knew more about it than we did. So we get over to BIKINI Atoll, and they're setting up the bomb, the Bravo, the first one for the blast. And the technician down there, we asked him, said, what can we expect from this? He said, "Well, you have a stick of dynamite, and you have a blasting cap. To ignite this He said the blasting cap for this would be an atom bomb, so they dropped on Hiroshima. Well, we knew that, wiped out the city and killed 100,000 people. They're gonna detonate this damn thing. But we felt safe. Well, they know what they're doing, but they didn't know any more about it than we did. They built it. So they set that all up, and we're sitting out at, what was it, March the 1st, yep. 6:45. Sitting out on the fantail at the back of the ship. I'm one of the few Marines that had dark glasses on. The reason I got them, I'm looking. When they punished us, they put you on midwatch, which was 12 to 4 at night, or midnight, and noon to 1600 in the afternoon. Bad shift. And I was on that a lot. I'm gonna get my hanky out. My daughter said, "Dad, your nose is running." Yeah, I've got two of these. I bought two of them tonight. And what that did for me, when I went in the laundry, I got my uniform, the first one I squared away. And when they made me hold stone decks on the fantail, I got to know the sailors who run the ship. And they were good to me. And a guy named Moore gave me dark goggles. I'm the only who lived in the Marine that had dark goggles. All the officers and scientists had them there. I am. Corporal Horrell got them on. But they set that off. And you're sitting down with your hands over, like eyes like this, with your eyes closed. They tell you, don't look into the fireball. And they give you the countdown. It gets down to 10 seconds. Boy, you know something ain't right. It ain't good. The guys are saying the Lord's Prayer and crying for their moms. And when it went off, we didn't hear anything. But we saw this tremendous light, 1,000 times brighter than the sun. And I saw the bone in my arm, like I thought I was looking at an x-ray at my arm. And the heat hit me. I thought somebody had a blowtorch heating up my back. And guys were crying and screaming. And when they finally let us turn around and said, "Don't look into the fireball," I took my glasses off. I thought, well, it'd be down to Mount Healthy. It was right here, right on us. And there was fallout. It was snowing coral, pieces of dead fish, and sand. And just being in a snowstorm, that lasted 2 or 3 days. And you could see the shock wave coming, and finally heard the sound. And the rivets popped and dust blew out of the ductwork. And behind that came a 30-foot tidal wave.
My God.
And there we are broadside. What the hell are we doing broadside? You're never broadside, are you? In an open sea, you got the bow into the wave. But we're broadside. And I looked over at Dean Timmy and I said, "It's kind of a matter of fact, really." I said, "I think we're going." And he said, "Yeah, I think you're right." And you look up, here comes this wave. There's a gun mount right there, and I put my arm down in the gun mount and braced myself. And it hit our ship, and I thought we were going to capsize. The guys were sliding across the deck, and some sailor went sliding by, and I just reached out and grabbed him. And we're looking down at the ocean like that. I thought we were going under. And then it swung back the other way. I don't know how many times it did that. But he turned around and thanked me. "Thanks, Marine." My daughter said, "You know who he was?" I wouldn't know him if he sat down and had supper with me. I remember him, though. He was scared to death. I was too. And we saw every color in the rainbow. Guys were sliding all over. That was just the first one. That was it. That come, it's supposed to come in at 5 megaton. It came in at 18 to 23 megaton. Well, it came over water. There's 23 open water, and there's no deterrent. Like in Las Vegas, Nevada, they would hit the mesas and the mountains and mountains. But this came right over, came right at you. So they ordered us below deck. Well, I went below deck, stayed there as long as I could. I don't know, maybe a week. And Dean Timmy couldn't stand the smell. He's a farm boy. He liked fresh air. So I got to go out. If you can't go out, you go out. We have to shoot you. He said, "You're going to shoot me?" I said, "No, I'm not going to shoot you, but I'm not going to bring 3 days bread and water for a year." And he said, "Well, I got to get out of here." So at night, I know him and another guy named Paul McCabe. They were two. I know they went out to sleep in lifeboats because you got what, 30 days. You could live in a lifeboat 30 days, I think. So the next day, he said, "Boy, does that air, fresh air smell good?" Well, when I saw him in 2001, in April, where they found me, his whole side of his face was plastic surgery. They call that. Oh, that fallout hit him. You knew I'd do this, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all right.
I don't care.
It was hard on you, man, you know.
Yeah, I bet I could tell it.
Yeah.
But that just the first ball. There was supposed to be 6 of them, but there was only 5 because they scrubbed one. But the one that got me, after that, they put us on Liberty. We had to go, I don't know, it had to be over 50 miles away because there was a Japanese fishing boat called the Lucky Dragon. It was 87 miles away at Rongelap Island. That they had, in fact, the one guy that they interviewed was licking that fallout. He thought it was snow. He was licking it off his arm. And he didn't know what that. We didn't know nothing. And they all died, but they got millions of dollars. We didn't get nothing. That's what you. Here's what you get. But of course, we weren't even listed on the ship roster. So we went on Liberty. I don't know what island it was. There was thousands of islands over there. You just got back from Hawaii, and they liked Hawaii. I said, "That's just another island out in the Pacific to me, because I've seen enough of them." So we had a guy, O.B. Joe Draper. Can't make it up. Found out he's alive. Oh, he was dead. I said, "Well, there goes my story. I'm the sole surviving cruise Marine." I said, "You ruined that for me." I called my daughter, give me his number. He went to Gettysburg, and she said, "Well, I got his phone number." I called him. He lost his phone and the internet, and he said, "Hell with it." I just ate it. So I thought he was dead because I never got an email from him. But he climbed a coconut tree, knocking them down. These guys got 2 cans of beer. Well, I didn't want that. And Timmy didn't drink, so I had 4 cans. But you don't have trouble giving them away to those. They were screaming. They were so happy. They were so happy to be alive. And I remember his name was Ronald John Buddha, and I'm John Ronald. And he's out there in the ocean with dead fish and pouring that beer and drinking that coconut milk. And he died in 57, 3 years later, with throat cancer and kidney cancer. And I remember him doing that. And when I didn't go in, I used to swim, but after those blasts, I didn't go in at all. And that was just the first blast. So I said that before. So the only run, we used to go to these little islands and pick up bombs and bring them over to the bomb site and blast them off. And you eat alone. You go over there in a corner by yourself, and sailor goes by and says, "Hey buddy, do I have leprosy?" Nobody wants to talk to me. So we were told to stay away from you, Marine. You were going to shoot us. I said, that was the atmosphere. But we had all the scientists on board our ship, and physicists. And the admiral had the flag. The flag means the top brass is on your ship. And I thought Hitler was hid someplace, but that was really bad. I told that story, some woman asked me if I was in the German army. I said, but it was bad. But the only run-in we had with shooting anybody was a Marine captain. Are you familiar with the rank in the military? A captain in the Marines got 2 bars. A lieutenant in the Navy's got 2 bars. An admiral and a general the same rate. The captain of the Navy ship is like a colonel. He's like a base commander. He runs the ship. So you say captains and colonels. When a don't wanna screw you up too bad. But the only running we had, if you had an access list, although you had a top secret clearance, if your name isn't on the access list, you're not allowed to go to that area. Like I know you, and I hope you sign up, Ray Kissinger. Nope, not in, can't come aboard. And I know you're top secret. And they test you all the time. And if you screw up, they throw you in the drink 3 days bread and water. That's a true story too. So you don't need that. So this Marine captain, our commanding, our detachment commander is who it was. And Ezell was on the gate. There was a barge shot, and Wilbur, me, and Joe Stahl was back in the back. And Ezell, he was just made corporal. He was on the gate. He's got 4 or 5 physicists with him, and they're all cleared to go aboard, come aboard. His name's not on the list, and he went off. I'm coming aboard, and he goes, Corporal. That's what they do. And Ezell pulled his 45 out, had the hammer back, right here. So you come aboard here and I'll shoot you. And we told him, why do you shoot this? Because we don't like it. He was our hero anyway. Maurice Ezell. He had twin sons stillborn. A lot of the kids had birth defects. I'm glad mine are normal. I worried about it. My oldest daughter is kind of fair. We were up at Mercy Hospital.
Yeah, I have an excuse.
Yeah. We were up at Mercy Hospital when she was born, and she had marks all over her skin. And I told Frida, because I never talked about it ever till 2001. And I said, well, that's from the test of radioactive fallout. So I'm sure that's what it is. And the nurse said, no, they use a strong laundry soap. They changed it. I said, what are you using? Tag soap? You remember Tag soap? You don't need to, not open now. They changed the laundry soap and it cleared her up. I was nervous wreck. Wow. Bill Clinton declassified us, 1994. Why he did it, I don't know, and I don't care. But I'll always be grateful to him for doing that, because if he hadn't done that, I wouldn't be here telling you anything. Because at one of the reunions, the California contingent, there was 35 or 6 of us, our biggest one. I think T.D. Barnes, you ever hear of T.D. Barnes? He was at Area 51 for 30 years. He's public. Well, at that reunion, and he's the one that told us that the CIA ran that. The hell do we know? We didn't know nothing. But they all had a non-disclosure act. They hired a lawyer, chipped in, so a couple of them put up $10,000 to hire this lawyer. And he had to sign a non-disclosure. There's one guy that didn't sign it. And you're looking at him right here. I didn't sign nothing. So I'm not signing that. I just declassified. I'm not going to do that. Well, we're going to all be millionaires in the outright.
There's a movie.
I made a famous statement. We'll be fighting the Supreme Court for 10 years. Well, it's been 71 years. We ain't got there yet. So, where am I going with this?
About Hollywood.
All about Brannaman.
It was Hollywood though, wasn't it? There's a Hollywood.
Yeah, Hollywood lawyer. Hey, what the hell?
You were going to make millions off of being a consultant, right? Mm.
Lawyers, we won't go there with them guys. But all this came out after 2001. They found me in April, and I went to, I said, well, they had a reunion at the Colorado Bell in Laughlin, Nevada. And I've been looking all over for those guys. I couldn't find them because you're not listed, not on the, and George Kelly and Ed Franklin's the one that started the reunions. I'm so glad they did. I'm glad they found me, because boy, I was pretty bitter for a long time. Still am a little bit, but I'm better than I was. But they founded the Curtis reunions, and you go in and listen to everybody's story. They all tell the same story, how that blood flowed through their fingers. And Nick was an executive officer. He told me at one of the reunions that he kept his eyes partially open. He said, I don't know which one, what the glasses, because there were 5 of them. He said, I saw the skull and shoulder bones of the sailor in front of me. He said, I hadn't told anybody that in 50 years. I said, nobody believed me. I said, well, I believe you. I said, he's drinking wine, I'm drinking Miller. But I'm not a wine guy. And I said, I believe you because I saw a bone in my arm with my eyes closed and dark glasses on. So I believe what you're saying. He was a guy that this is what the bonds you have. He drives 300, he worked for the government in Alaska, and he drives 300 miles to catch a plane to fly to San Diego and go to one of our reunions. Well, they're all gone now, but Obie Joe ain't. I gotta call him when I get home. But, what am I at? I'm getting a brain freeze.
Well, did you explain?
I gotta wipe my nose.
Yeah.
I bought 2 hankies, I usually get by with one. But when I talk about them, it's, you bond with them. Dave Baxter he worked with NASA, and he was on the Challenger, the one that the school teacher that he would break down. And they'd all come to my room. I'd always have a 5th of Glenlivet single malt scotch. $50 a bottle back then, it's probably 100 now. And a 5th of Crown Royal. So they all come to my room and sit there and share stories, and they're all basically the same. And what they never told their family. My daughter said, "You never told me." I said, "I didn't tell you." And where they go, they were building bomb shelters in the 50s. And they said, "What are you going to do?" "I'm not building nothing." "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to sit out. I live in Hamilton then. So I'm going to sit out in my backyard and drink a 6-pack of Miller. Martin Bomb, Cincinnati. And guess who was going to be bombed? Hamilton. They had a Sherman tank, 90mm cannon. We made the Northern bomb site. They had special coated paper for the USS, which is the CIA. They'll bomb my hometown. I'm sitting out in the backyard. Oh, yeah. So at the Arm Cove for an all. So we were going to be bombed. If you didn't know that, you know it now. So. And Khrushchev had a, Tsar bomb?
Yeah, you're gonna tell that.
He wanted 100 megaton. Wanted to show the America, that was in October '61, which is 7 years after ours, after our test. Ours was the first deliverable. They were testing the B-52 bomber, which came out in February of '55 to deliver these things. And there's still 30 or 40 of them flying today. You believe all the modern, but 6 months and it's obsolete, but they're still flying. They got them up at Dayton Air Force Museum. You ever want to go up and see one? Boy, they're nice. But they deliver these hydrogen bombs. And Khrushchev set the Tsar bomb off at October '61 to scare Kennedy. And it was 50 meg. It was 3 stages: atom bomb, hydrogen bomb, and it blew out windows in Moscow 300 miles away, and in Norway. And what Norway goes through Russia? Russia goes, so nobody. They don't care. So Kennedy and Khrushchev got together for the underground testing. I don't know whether this is out yet or not, but CIA says it ain't. But they went to underground testing, and we put our isotopes up in Alaska, where they're deteriorating, getting under groundwater now. And Greenpeace had to go up there in the 70s or 80s and stop that, because and the caribou drinking water. It's still messy up there. So if that's out, the CIA comes get you, tell them I told you. It's all, you'd be surprised what goes on. You want to ask me anything to jog my memory? Anything. Where I went to go get drunk, I passed out in the bar one morning, and the guys let me in there. I woke up about 3 in the morning, all of a sudden, they was laying in the booth in the bar room. That was fun. Thanks for leaving me, boys. Good old Marines, huh?
How far away was the hydrogen bomb where they dropped it?
Oh, what?
How far from your ship?
We were 23 miles away.
23 miles?
Yeah, which is over open seas, nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know about the other ones, but I know the first one was 23 miles away. And And those physicists, they didn't know any more about it than we did. We were stupid. And the whole task force went to Hawaii. We're the only ones that didn't go to Hawaii because we were too radioactive. And coming back under the Golden Gate, our captain had Al Jolson. Saying, California, here I come, right back where I started. And boy, was it great coming back. And people waving to you, and we're standing on all this radioactive fallout deck because they couldn't wash it off. They had a series of wash down systems over there with hoses and sprays, and they would all stop up. And the guys, the deck crew had to get out and clean them out. One would start and another would stop. They had frogmen, what's what we call, I guess they were seals. Go down underwater, check for underwater damage, and radioactive seawater. And Bikinians went back in 2023 and planted a garden, and everything died. Just 2 years ago. They can't survive. And the Lucky Dragon on 87 miles of Rongolet, guy's writing a book called The Children in the Snowstorm about Rongolet, radioactive fallout. Wow. What's John's girl from Bikini that's married into the Nielsen's?
Yeah,
she got cousin. Millions of dollars. She's screwed up too. It screws you up. You go through that.
If you've ever seen if you Google it, if you Google Castle Bravo, you can see the explosion. It'll be, you can have it.
I've got that at home. If I ever stop down my house and watch it.
Tell them about SpongeBob.
About who?
SpongeBob.
Oh God. Well, there's all kind of stories. That bomb on SpongeBob is our Bravo shot.
It is.
And I got when I didn't sign that non-disclosure act, I got a phone call from a guy named Andy Webb from Blink Films in London, England. So this is Andy Webb from Blink Films in London, England. And I said, bullshit. I thought Arnie or one of them being a smart aleck. But it was him. He wanted to come and interview me, but he censored me. I wasn't allowed to use names. And when I said, yeah, Dean Timmy, he shut it down and no names. Because he signed that non-disclosure. So who checks on that to see who signed that and who didn't? And a guy named Robert Hastings called me. He's a UFO guy. He said, you remember the UFO that buzzed your ship on April the 3rd at 0130 hours? And I said, no.
Yeah.
He said, well, Borgio and Pratt said it was. Well, so I called those guys. He said, you're crazy. He said, he writes UFO fiction. But what I'm going with that, who's going to confirm or deny that when we're all dead? Then my great-grandson, Teo, had Jenny and Susanna FaceTime me. I think I hurt his feelings. He said, was you there when Godzilla was hatched from that prehistoric egg? I should have told him, yeah. But that's the stories you get. Godzilla. So you do that.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, I know they didn't know a lot of things,
Right.
but with the information they had when they tested the bomb in Los Alamos and the scientists, I mean, they knew certain things. In your opinion, why do you think that the government put you guys so close when they detonated?
They didn't know. Politicians don't know. I met a guy named Harold Agnew over there. He was our project engineer, project manager. He hates politicians. I hope nobody here is a politician. Harold Agnew flew in the backup plane of the Enola Gay and took that picture of that mushroom cloud you see at world famous. He's the guy that did that. And he hates government. But they didn't know anything. They wanted to scare Russia and China. Probably did. And scared us too. You hear those guys crying and get that funny sound right before you think you're dying. And we had a lot of that. But they put 5 of them on us. And the frogmen go down. In fact, Gene Pratt, and he's captain's orderly, he was going over to one of those little islands, and they gave him this briefcase and said, if anybody stops you, you shoot them. Tell them 19-year-old guy. But nobody bothers you. They didn't do that. But him and the ship's captain, there's a nameplate. The Saratoga sunk over there. They went down to put that nameplate. And the captains of the ship wanted that. They did that with them guys, but God, I can't remember all of them. But Al Jolson, you remember Al Jolson, don't you? I asked somebody asked me if he was a one-time wonder. I said, well,
No.
because nobody ever heard of it.
Any other questions?
Well, I wish I had more for you. I probably would get home, but I'll call you when I get home.
Wait, there's one. Hey,
You still live in Hamilton?
Yeah, I live in Fairfield,
Fairfield, okay,
on Everly.
okay.
Come on down if you don't see a film. Let me know. Well, this shows the blast. It shows our blast and Tsar Bomba. And Zakharov, who built Tsar Bomba, wouldn't make any more. So the KGB hounded him to his death. And there's a museum in Russia. He built the world's biggest bomb. He got the Nobel Peace Prize. Ironic. Oh, yeah, he worked on it.
yeah, he's got books, so sign them.
Yeah, I've signed them. With my arthritic numb thumb and forefinger. You can have them. It's just a rundown of what I did.
And he only mentions me in that damn book once.
What I mentioned you once?
Yeah, when your dad came back to.
Oh, my dad.
You didn't tell him about your dad.
Yeah.
Bonds are
Nah.
in charge on the books.
My dad was married 8 times. You don't want to hear that story.
8 times?
I told Frida I'm such a failure. I've just been married once.
You still have time.
Didn't have.
Well, that was very interesting.
Well, I'm glad it was. I
Wow.
didn't cry as much as I thought. Usually I'm weak.